We're going to talk Brandon Aiyuk trade packages on today's show, but let me get everyone's opinion on this first. Point blank, if a Brandon Aiyuk trade included Amari Cooper going to San Francisco, are you in or out? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I don't think it's going to be a consensus, but I lean towards N for no. I don't think the Browns are in a spot where they need to make some dramatic move. I think you are maybe better off with Amari Cooper, an extra $30 million a year in your pocket that you're not giving to Aiyuk, and probably a pretty valuable draft pick that would go to San Francisco. I would take those three things over Brandon Aiyuk. So I'm passing. Let's talk Brandon Aiyuk trade packages on today's show because it feels like a trade could go down at any moment as there have been rumors swirling around between the Browns, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Commanders. At one point, the Steelers and the Commanders were out. Now one of them is back in. We're going to recap it all on today's episode, but the reports, the nuts and bolts is the Browns and Patriots have negotiated trade framework with the 49ers, meaning there are two things that need to get checked off here. The Browns need to give the 49ers a fair trade. It's a little bit like the Deshaun Watson deal, not quite apples to apples, but the Browns and Niners have to agree to a fair trade compensation where the 49ers go, okay, if we had to trade Brandon Aiyuk, this would be a fair return. But that's not the end of the story. They also have to get with Brandon Aiyuk's agent, which usually would be blatant tampering, but the 49ers have given permission to Brandon Aiyuk and his agent to speak with other teams. And we'll talk about why they might do that in a second here. But the Browns and Patriots have reportedly given contract offers to Aiyuk, and the Steelers were out, but maybe they're creeping back in. That's what Adam Schefter put out. So it's a very fluid situation. Keep that in mind as it probably has changed since the time I'm recording this during our Tuesday live show to when you're watching this. But here are 5 trade ideas for the Browns and the 49ers. The first one, Brandon Aiyuk to Cleveland for Amari Cooper and a second-round draft pick. This is probably the most common and vanilla trade idea that's been tossed out there. And I think it's a fair deal for both sides, just looking at it. The Browns get Aiyuk. He's a superstar wide receiver. The 49ers, despite losing Aiyuk, don't lose a ton of production. Amari Cooper is going to put up similar numbers that Aiyuk put up last year. They're not very far off, but Aiyuk being 5 years younger kind of puts the needle in his direction. And to make up for losing a wide receiver who's 5 years younger, the 49ers gain a second-round draft pick. I'll say this right now. I really, really do not want to lose Amari Cooper. I know how good Brandon Aiyuk is. And I think a lot of other teams would love to have his services. And finding a 25-year-old wide receiver, an all-pro last year on the trade market, is very rare. And maybe that should be something the Browns should be asking themselves. Why are the 49ers coming this close to trading an ascending superstar wide receiver? What about Aiyuk do they know that the Browns need to find out? They got to get the guy from draft day who finds out no one went to Bo Callahan's birthday. Hire that guy actually and bring him to Berea, the actor. But I'm not interested in losing Amari Cooper. I don't think, one, you're getting that much more production from Aiyuk to Cooper. Like, Aiyuk last year had a little under 100 more yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, there's no denying that from a numbers perspective, Aiyuk was more efficient and overall a more productive player last year for the 49ers, especially when you add in that San Francisco was 32nd in pass attempts. Although I could counter with Amari Cooper had 4 different starting quarterbacks throwing him the football. So that's probably going to sway things a little bit back in his favor as well. But I'll take Amari Cooper, draft picks, and an extra $30 million that you were going to spend on Aiyuk over Brandon Aiyuk. I don't think the Browns are Brandon Aiyuk away from winning a Super Bowl. I think the Browns have everything they need right now to be a legit Super Bowl contender. The only thing that they have to accomplish is getting consistent, healthy quarterback play. If they get 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns and 12 interceptions from Deshaun Watson this year, that's a team that's going to win playoff games. With the defense they are returning from last year, with Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, a returning Nick Chubb, a top 5 offensive line, there's no reason why that crew right there can't go win playoff games. and go all the way to New Orleans. So I'll pass on including Amari Cooper. I understand that resetting at wide receiver long-term may be a great thing, but I don't think this Browns locker room wants to see Amari Cooper go. He's a leader in this unit. He is a well-respected man, and I'm not interested in shipping out Amari Cooper for a wide receiver that's been nothing but a bit of a headache the last couple of months. Players go through holdouts all the time. It's not unique. But I don't think Brandon Aiyuk has gone about it the best way. I think at times he's come across as immature, naive, and young. And yeah, he is. He's 25. But I think there are reasons as to why the 49ers are kind of at a point where they go, you know what? We'd rather just move on altogether, despite him being a second-team All-Pro wide receiver at the age 25 last year. That should be a question worth exploring. Now, before we move on to trade idea number 2, if a trade does go down, we'll be going live on the channel as soon as it happens. So make sure you have your notifications on. Hit that bell icon, select it to all. That way you can be a part of, I don't know if it'll be a party, if it'll be a New Orleans funeral, where you want to put it on the spectrum, but it'll be something, and you won't want to miss it. So hit the sub button and turn your notifications on today. Trade idea number 2. This time, no Amari Cooper. Elijah Moore goes over to the Bay Area along with a future first-round draft pick. This is more of me just trying to put this out to the universe to hoard Amari Cooper for myself. Now, the big question is, do the Browns want to go another year without a first-round draft pick? If they include a first-round draft pick, that'll mean no first-round pick in 2022, 3, 4, 5. 4 years with no first-round draft pick can only be deemed approval-worthy if there is a ring on your finger. Like the Rams. Do they feel like Aiyuk will give them a Super Bowl this year? Next year? Because if not, that's a long time without a first. It is tough to construct a roster if you don't have a few first-round picks to lean on that can give you high-quality play for cheap money for 4 to 5 years. Now, before we look at my other trade ideas, let me tell you all about our great friends over at Game Time. If you want to catch a Guardians game or another Major League team in your area or a Browns preseason game, get started with Game Time today. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time also offers the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Now, terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Third trade idea. This time we get some offensive linemen involved. Aiyuk, of course, Jack Conklin, Elijah Moore, and a third-round draft pick. This is Cleveland's way of avoiding losing a first-round draft pick, but of course tossing in another starter like Jack Conklin, which I think the 49ers could be on board with. They currently have 2 players holding out, Trent Williams. Now, I think they expect that to have a positive ending, but Colton McKivitz, their starting right tackle last year, I thought 47 out of 81 was generous by Pro Football Focus. He stunk it up. Now, maybe they want to go interior. You could swap out Conklin with like Wyatt Teller. That could be a possibility. But I think this would ultimately be my dream scenario. Not that I love the idea of trading Conklin or Elijah Moore away, but if there's going to be a Brandon Aiyuk trade and you could manage to hold on to Amari Cooper, a first and a second round pick, that's probably a little bit out of the realm of possibility, but maybe the Niners go, listen, if we can get a starting right tackle, replace, sure, not as quality as a wide receiver in Aiyuk, but bring on a starting caliber guy in Elijah Moore, and pick up a day 2 draft pick, they may not find a better offer from another team. Because while draft picks are certainly enticing, the thing about draft picks is those draft picks won't do you any good this year. You know who can do you good this year? Conklin and Moore. The 49ers are trying to win a Super Bowl right now. So a 2025 first-round pick, that's not going to help them in 2024. But these two players could. They can get an upgrade at right tackle immediately. And Elijah Moore is probably better than any wide receiver the Steelers, or maybe even the Patriots could offer outside of Kendrick Bourne. So this might be the closest they can come to actually getting real good quality starters for this season. Fourth trade idea, Amari Cooper and Greg Newsome. This one seems a little bit rich. I think the Browns would actually be getting probably like a 5th or a 6th round draft pick. I like to take pride in putting together fair trade ideas for both sides. I just want to include Newsome because I've heard his name tossed out as a possible asset to be included in an Aiyuk trade. I really doubt Andrew Berry would trade 2 starters, though. If he's given up Amari Cooper, I don't think he's going to follow it up by giving up Greg Newsome. I mean, you can tell what positions Andrew Berry values really highly as core positions for success. What does he commonly draft or spend big on in free agency? He's traded for a lot of wide receivers, and he's drafted a lot of corners. I don't think he's interested in giving up 2 guys at core positions for him. Now, if it came down to Greg Newsome instead of Amari Cooper, would that move the needle much for you? I feel bad for Newsome. I always feel like he's kind of been the easy trade candidate to prop up, when in reality, I think the Browns are very much on board with Greg Newsome. I also wonder if the 49ers would have any interest in trading for a player who is currently on the PUP list and is coming off preseason hamstring surgery. Like, that might not be something they want to touch the 10-foot pole. And my 5th and final trade idea, Aiyuk for Conklin and 2 third-round draft picks. This one involves no wide receivers going over to San Francisco, which I think the 49ers would really want a receiver in return. But if for whatever reason they're like, you know what, we like Debo, Ricky Pearsall, and Jawan Jennings. We value a 3rd-round draft pick over Elijah Moore or Cedric Tillman. This could be something the 49ers secretly feel like, hey, we're improving our offensive line, which is a core group of ours for success this year, and we're picking up 2 future 3rd-round draft picks over a guy in the last year of his deal who we don't have hugely highly, big grades on. Maybe sneakily, this is something the 49ers would be interested in pursuing, although I'm really tough to believe that the 49ers wouldn't want a wide receiver in return. Now, maybe the 49ers want one of my favorite ice creams, a Neapolitan trade, which would be a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, and a draft pick. A little bit of everything. Help soften the blow of losing Aiyuk. And in lieu of taking a downgrade at wide receiver, improve your offensive line and pick up a quality draft pick. Maybe that's what they're really seeking, and that's what's taken so long for a trade to get done. So we'll cycle back through the 5 trades. Let me know which trade you like the most. The Amari Cooper one. Elijah Moore, of course, not as good as Cooper, but you're giving up a 1st compared to a 2nd. There's the Neapolitan one, Jack Conklin, Elijah Moore, and a draft pick. Amari Cooper and a Newsome. This one avoids the Browns giving up any draft picks. That's the only one that includes that. Or Jack Conklin and 2 third-round draft picks. I would lean towards the Neapolitan version. I'm not rushing to trade anyone away, though. But if a trade were to happen, and I was asked, hey, what would be your ideal outcome for assets going out the door? I think a little bit of everything while still holding on to Amari Cooper. All right, before we get on out of here, we're going to pick a card. We have producer Trizzy Trace. Trace, which card do you want to go with?
I'm going to go 7 of hearts.
7 of hearts?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 3 of diamonds.
Come on.
What'd you say?
7 of hearts.
It's 7. It's red. It's a diamond.
You've got to be
kidding me. You idiot. All right, that will do it on today's show.
How could I be so dumb?
I'm trying to think of a Step Brothers rebuttal to that, but I can't think of one. That will do it for us. The bunk beds were a horrible idea. All right, we'll see you guys later. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Go Brownies.